Yes, come in.
Oh, hi, Mr. O'Shea. My name's Randall Jones. I live here in Fort Worth. I've got some questions for you.
Sure, Randall, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, thanks. I just wanted to ask you, why are you running for office?
That's a good question, Randall. Actually, it's not something I ever really aspired to do, but candidly, our country's hanging by a thread, and I've had two kind of awakening moments. The first was when then candidate Donald John Trump came down the escalator and said he could make America great again, and he did. But his biggest opposition weren't the Democrats per se, it was Republican leadership. And I all of a sudden realized that not all Republicans are created equal, and that not everybody who has an R behind their name shares our values or actually fighting the good fight. So that was truly disappointing. And then the second thing is, candidly, when the COVID lockdowns happened, and all of a sudden I realized that our God-given rights, the government didn't recognize. They felt like they could just take them away from us, through a state of emergency. And that's not right, and it affected my family pretty dramatically. So I don't know if you've noticed, but this country is teetering on the edge of full-blown authoritarianism, and it's not something I can abide by. So I decided I had to do everything I could to try and restore this country back to the hands of we the people.
But your opponent Goldman, he's been in state office for a few years. He's got a lot more experience than you do, right?
True, I'm an outside business person, and he has been in the state legislature for the last 11 years, although, candidly speaking, I don't know that being a career politician is necessarily an advantage. In fact, our founding fathers never envisioned us having a professional class of politicians. We were supposed to go serve our country and then go back home to our private lives and let the next person step up. So I'm in favor of term limits. In fact, State Representative Goldman voted against term limits. And, at the end of the day, if you like the way the Texas House has been run, then maybe he might be a good candidate. But frankly, I think the Texas House has been where great ideas have gone to die.
Well, I just think we need some really good, strong Republicans in office. And there's a lot of important work to do. And he's got some good contacts, right? He's been doing some good work, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, he has done some good things. It's never a case of somebody being all one way or all the other. But let me give you a few points where we differ on, or ideas that I think that the Texas House should have passed. So first of all, he's been involved in a leadership position there for the last 4 years, including with this speaker, Dade Phelan, who, frankly, most people here in the state of Texas, now that they're aware of him, are upset. But he voted to impeach Ken Paxton. Then they also failed to restore Attorney General Paxton's power to go file and fight election fraud. They failed to pass legislation preventing foreign hostile governments from owning land here in the state of Texas. They failed to secure our border until finally after they had to have 4 emergency sessions because the governor kept calling him back in, even though the Senate passed it. They don't support parental rights, in fact, especially through school choice, which again, they failed to pass even through the 4 special sessions. They continue to appoint Democratic committee chairs, much to the chagrin of the Republican Party. They failed to ban drag queen story hour in public libraries, which is something that most people are against. They failed to pass legislation removing Texas judges who don't follow the law, because we have a problem in some of the big cities where we have these judges who act as, frankly, as social justice warriors and don't follow the law. And then they failed to ban taxpayer-funded lobbying, which, candidly, is very gross to me. If you have to use the taxpayer money to lobby against the taxpayer's interest. So you're right, he has more experience, but if that's the kind of experience that you think sounds good, then I might have to question your judgment on that.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So wait, tell me something about the Democrats that are in committee positions. You said that was a bad thing. Don't we want to share that responsibility with them?
No, so first of all, the Texas general public, the voters, have sent a majority Republican House for the last, several decades. And so this notion of sharing power, I ask you, if the Democrats controlled the House, do you think that they would be appointing Republicans to key chair positions? And as a result of that, significant legislation that were actually priorities for the Republican Party fail to pass committee and fail to get voted on. The Senate doesn't have that problem. The Senate passes things through and generally gets their legislative agenda out there, whereas the Texas House has failed to do so for the last several years.
Oh, okay. I see. So let's talk about Paxton, because I heard Paxton was a crook, and I heard that all of his lieutenants even turned against him.
You know, it's funny. As Mark Twain once said, if you don't read the news, you're uninformed. If you do read the news, you're misinformed. So the media has had an agenda against him because, frankly, Attorney General Paxton, who has been a good friend of mine for 20 years, has been fearless and bold in pushing back against this lawless administration and trying to protect our constitutional rights. He's tried to secure our border. You know, he was going after big tech for their censorship and for misinformation. And you know, most recently, he's also gone after Pfizer for, you know, fraud against the consumer and failing to disclose, you know, the dangers that the vaccines pose. Well, you can't go against powerful institutions like that and not expect to be attacked, and he has. You know, so the House actually voted to impeach Ken Paxton, much to the chagrin of the Republican voters, but the Senate acquitted him. And if you take a look at the facts, you know, the 4.3 million people almost voted for Attorney General Paxton in the last election. Everything that the House put forth as evidence to impeach him, they knew and they didn't care. They still wanted him to be their Attorney General. So you always hear the illiberal left, the Democrats, complain about election interference or actually trying to voter suppress. What kind of interference and voter suppression is taking away the vote of 4.3 million Texans because the Texas House deemed that they didn't make the right decision?
Yeah, I guess that all makes sense. So what does being America First mean?
So America First means it's not xenophobic, it's not racist, it's not anti any people from any other country. It just means that we take care of our own first. Like it says in St. Paul wrote to Timothy in 1 Timothy in 5, he said basically, we have to take care of our immediate family, and those who don't have failed the faith and are worse than unbelievers. Well, if we have homelessness in our country, if we have rising crime, if we have urban blight, failing infrastructure, you know, and we're taking care of illegal aliens entering the country and funding foreign wars and excursions abroad, you know, to me, we're not taking care of our immediate family, our brothers and sisters, and that's what we're called to do.
Okay, well, so I'm really concerned about just all the taxes and fees that are just coming up. Do you have any ideas on how to fix that?
Yeah, actually I do. First of all, we need to secure the border. Congress just recently passed a report that showed that this illegal wave of immigrant invasion is actually going to cost the American taxpayers $451 billion a year. Second of all, we need to unleash our energy industry. We're sitting and blessed to be on top of a sea of oil and gas, and this whole green energy is 9 times more expensive. And not only that, it's intermittent. Wind and solar only work, you know, 30–40% of the time, as we saw during the big freeze here several years ago. And then it's also completely dependent upon China, who manufactures most of the solar panels, wind turbines, and lithium batteries. And then lastly, we just need to cut government spending. I mean, for us to continue to spend $2+ trillion in deficit every year at post-COVID levels, there's no reason for it. So I think we could get spending and those things would get inflation under control as well. And I think that the working class and middle class people would feel an easing on their checkbooks.
So, you know, I agree with everything you're saying, but I don't understand then, you know, what does Goldman stand for then?
Well, you know, candidly speaking, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who hold public office that forget that they're public servants, and they tend to go along to get along, and they don't listen to their constituents. So, you know, I can't speak from being inside of his head, but it appears to me that he's become part of the establishment, and as a part of that, then he's just a team player, and he doesn't listen to his constituents enough.
Okay, well, if I want to tell my friends to vote for you, what do I need to tell them?
Well, you need to tell them that they've got a very clear choice. I actually filed when I was going to run against 14-term incumbent Congresswoman Kay Granger I talked to her about it and filed in April. State Representative Goldman filed the day after she withdrew from the race. I want to serve. He wants to office. I'm an America First candidate. He's part of the Bush establishment. I'm endorsed by our Attorney General, my good friend Ken Paxton. He worked to and voted to impeach Ken Paxton. So the choice is clear. But if you want more information, you can go to my website. It's osheafortexas.com. It's OSHEA, the number 4, Texas.com. And I would encourage anybody who likes and thinks my message resonates with them to take a look at possibly volunteering and even small dollar donations, because I am taking on the establishment and it's an uphill fight. Virtually David versus Goliath, but we all know how that one ended.
Well, awesome. Thanks for the time. I really appreciate it.
No, it was nice getting to meet you. Thanks for stopping by.